Hello, good evening, anybody. Everybody, not anybody. I'm chairing tonight. I'm afraid I'm on my iPad because my computer won't talk to me. So I won't be able to see everybody at the same time, and I can't see the agenda. So I'd be depending on Steve to talk us through it as we go. So Steve, could you set us going, please?
The first thing is apologies. I've not had any apologies. Is everyone
okay
here?
All right.
Okay. Second is declarations of interest.
Oh, hello, Martin.
The third of the minutes of the meeting held on the 3rd of February.
I think they were a record. I saw them.
Yeah.
Okay. At this stage, Chair, because we'd had interested 4 or 5 residents, you're going to open the meeting to the public.
Okay, I can't see anybody, so you just have to tell me what's going on. So we suspend standing orders?
Yeah, but I don't actually think we have any members of the public here. We've just got the...
I can't see. I can only see you, Rebecca and Linda at the moment.
Well, that makes the meeting shorter then, Jen.
Well,
okay.
We have Ian here, Tomsk, and we have Jason as well.
Oh, have we? Well, that's
yes,
nice
we do.
I didn't know.
And we got Linda here. She's been very quiet today.
I can see Linda. I keep showing my computer. So does anybody want to ask any questions? And if they do, put your hand up and then we'll suspend standing orders. No? Okay,
No.
Clark, we'll crack on then, please.
Update on the skate park.
Few things there. Steve, you know about the stuff with the water board, and firstly, I think there's the letter that went out from Paul. Has it actually gone out to Mr. Eames, or is it still in draft form?
It's still in draft. Sue's replied, but I don't think Bill's off today, so I don't think he's replied.
Is that the letter? Sorry, is that sorry to butt in, but is that the letter to Mr. Eames about the funding for the skateboard park?
Oh, there is. It's pages and pages wrong. Yes, there's loads of it on there.
Yeah, that has gone out as far as I understand it. I thought it had gone out today. But he's answered all the questions very comprehensively, all bar one. Yeah, Paul. Yeah.
I thought he'd done a magnificent job. I was about to put it on record. I'd be very grateful.
No, he has done a fantastic job. All bar one, because he didn't have the records to hand because they are in the office in the Ostream Centre.
Well, I've got an email. Steve got in touch with Sue Mitchell at Maverick, and I can read you what she said. The initial design submitted for tender in 2018 is substantially changed over time through user consultation, both with local riders and to accommodate WCMX requirements. So we had a complete redrawing of it. And as Steve pointed out today, actually, we might think about having wheelchair competitions because it should be. She goes on to say, actually, additionally, there were changes to meet planning requirements. Now, you know, Swandri Duck there, he goes in and wanted everything, formal surveys requested, ancillary works. We've had to get extra works, and it's this SAB thing that's cost us a fortune. The initial proposals have now been fully developed to create a world-class skate park design for Mumbles. So that's where the extra came from our original design, which we thought accommodated everything, and then finding out everything that Wales requires that England doesn't on top. So that's where the extra funding comes from. But Paul will be able to put that in details to Mr. Eames when he has all the details.
Could I say something, Chair?
You have to say, I can't see, you'd have to just...
Sorry, just to say, we didn't have a choice because with the, and I'm glad we didn't actually, with the Wales Future Generation Act, we had to make it wheelchair friendly. So it was lucky that we were pulled up at the time and told that was how we had to do the design. We had to redo it. Simple as.
And we were jolly pleased to be able to do that as well, weren't we?
Can I, yes, exactly. Can I also say something else? Mr. Eames seems very concerned about how much we spent on the skate park. I think if we have a sort of comparison and we release all the different projects that we've done, the expense and how much they've cost us from beginning to end, I think he'll have a far better, more well-rounded idea of what what good value the skate park is.
I
think
talked
that's
this through with the club, but because Paul is off work today, we weren't able to talk to Paul and ask him if he could get that going for us. So yes, I think that's a jolly good idea, just to get everything out there. Okay. Right. At this skate park news, I'll go back and check. Steve, you've been in touch with the water board. Do you want to bring us up to date on that?
Yeah, certainly, Chair. Basically, we have to go using their form, which costs us £96, and they estimate it to cost on average, between £300 and £2,000 to get the water done. Because Maddie's dealing with them for the other water fillers, it seems sensible for us to forward our one on to her to deal with.
Okay, take your advice on that, that's fine. And lastly, the solicitor, Steve, you got the up-to-date on that?
Yeah, the solicitor has got back to us with a few sort of minor points, which we've got answers to now. So I've replied to him. So things are progressing on that front as well.
What about the 25-year lease? Are you going to discuss that tonight, or are you settled on that?
Yeah,
about that?
I can quickly explain it. It's not really a decision. It's quite complex. So it might be at one stage, as we've done with Underhill, the solicitor will come and speak to the whole committee. But basically, he's saying there's two choices. We can do as with Underhill and have a license to build. With once the building's completed, the lease is referred on to us, or we can go straight for a lease before we start building. So those are the two options.
So we're going to go with his recommendation, or we've decided what we should do, or what advice what we should do?
I would wait till he's finished the rest of the work, and then he can talk to you, and questions can be asked, because it's, you know, as far as I can see why a license makes sense over a 2-year project like Underhill, but it's only is it 17, 18 weeks?
15 weeks.
15-week build. So it seems strange to have a license just for that 15-week period. You might as well. But we could ask him that. He's probably not aware of how quickly they're built. And of course, the other tantalising thing you'll mention in the email from Sue earlier about
yes, if we wanted to, they could start building as early as April.
Oh, great.
So there's no point in going, oh, great, we've got to find out, we've depended on this blinking grant application, aren't we? Which has another 4 weeks to run. We did ask Carrie if she would chivvy them up to date. She said no, she'd done it so many times, she's embarrassed to do it again. So you've got another 4 weeks before we can even hear about that. So that's what's holding us up at the moment.
It might, Chair, it might not be 4 weeks, because it depends what time in the cycle we got put in
So I
first.
think we've got to go on the longest it'd probably be, not expecting to come in any quicker than that.
I'm optimistic.
So that's what's holding it up, yeah. So the solicitor's cracking on, Steve's working with him, and when we got everything decided, he'll then go back to Swansea City Council and negotiate with them and get everything sorted out with them. So that's where we are with the solicitors at the moment. But I can see it all coming together, and we're just sitting here with our hands on our hands waiting for the grant to come through. Okay, I think that's all on the skate park, Steve, is that okay?
Yeah, next is a report on Underhill.
Okay, could somebody tell us about this lovely lot of money we've had and how that is going to affect how they're able to go forward? Is it making a big difference? Are they waiting for us? Somebody could explain to us. I can't see anybody. You just have to say, I'll do it and jump in.
Yeah, I'll jump in then on that.
Okay, thank you, Martha.
Yeah, well, as you've heard, yes, we've had the authorization for the loan so far. We haven't actually had the loan. We've just had the authorization to go forward for the loan.
Okay.
So Paul is at the moment preparing 3 bids, as I understand it, or 3 possible applications to various funding bodies that we can go forward for the loan. So that shouldn't be very long coming through. From what Paul's saying to me, should be about a week really. So then we will go forward then obviously on securing the loan, which is of course working with the funding that MCA have already secured for the the build at Underhill. So when that all comes through, then as long as we've got the agreement in place with Mumbles Community Association, they then will be able to go out to tender for the build process. There's a couple of things that we still need to finalize. Particularly, we're having a little bit of a sticking point around the wording in relation to the process that will take place in relation to our monitoring surveyor and the signing off of the work around the monitoring surveyor. But this really now has been referred back to our solicitors and their solicitors to get sorted out. And then the only other issue that we need to get sorted out, and we're hoping to talk to the solicitors about it this week, but again, I don't really see this as a major issue, and that will be relating to permissions in case they want to deviate or to do any additional work on Underhill, and what permissions and what process they will need to go through between liaising with us and City and County of Swansea in relation to getting those permissions.
Okay.
Can I ask something for clarification, Chair?
Yeah.
Because I'm rubbish with figures. How much has it cost us, Underhill? How much are we loaning?
It's 1.2 million in total, 850,000 loan.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's
all
no, hang on. It's 1,203,000 and odd because we paid for the extra survey thing, didn't we?
right? Will that be all, or are we still paying after that?
Well, I mean, we have to obviously make the loan payments for, I think the council's agreed a 10-year loan, so we make the loan payments for 10 years. We've actually had good news on that. So the loan rate is dropped considerably, so it'll be £4,000 less a year.
Oh, well, that's good news for the taxpayer, eh?
Yeah, will that be for the whole of the 10 years or just for the next year?
Yeah, it's fixed rates that we're looking at. So
it's
Sorry,
fixed.
it's a fixed rate. It's a fixed rate we're looking at, but I mean, obviously that's council's decision whether we go with a fixed or a variable rate. So you know, it's my advice would be fixed, but
yeah, and that will come out with whoever we go with the loan application that we're putting in at the moment. By the looks from what Paul is advising at the moment, it looks like we'll probably be getting the loan via this public service board.
Okay. So will that be part of the conditions that they attach to it? Will be things like the repayment system?
Yes, and you know, as I sort of said, it is built into the application, into what we've planned already, that it will be repaid over 10 years within the current level of precept as stated at the moment.
Thank you, Martin.
And it's 1.2 million or 1.3 million. I didn't get that clearly.
just over 1.2, like a couple of thousand over, yeah.
1,203,000.
That's obviously the maximum. When it goes out to tender, it could potentially be less, couldn't it? But that's what we budgeted for.
Right.
Anybody else on that? Rebecca?
Yeah, just wanted to jump in and just reiterate for committee. Obviously, a lot of work has gone in from our lawyers, from our monitoring surveyor on the agreement between MCC and MCA. So that's the legally binding agreement on how the whole project's going to run. But that is really, really close to completion now. It's just those two minor points that Martin raised. So hopefully in the next week or two.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
We should be in a position that we've got a really strong legal basis for how this project's going to run. So that's really good news as well.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anything else we need to know, Martin?
No, as I said, I think those are the two main things. Is as long as we get those 2 points sorted, and it has been dragging on and it is getting a bit laborious, to be honest, but I am really keen that I would like to see it sorted by the end of this week, to be honest. If it drags on to next week, well, so be it. But, you know, as I sort of said, it's in the hands of our solicitors. But more than anything, obviously, we need to protect the position of MCC.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Is everything?
Yep.
Okay, Clark, can we move on to the next thing, please?
Yeah, item 6 is the Langland Bay tennis courts bid. I know
Okay.
we've been doing some work on that, Chair.
Sorry, what did you say?
I know Will's been doing some
Yeah.
work on that.
Okay, okay, over to Will then.
I mean, not really. We submitted that bid, and that's all for now. I mean, we haven't heard anything back from Swansea Council yet. I don't think that the cabinet, sorry, I don't think the Estates Department have looked and briefed the cabinet member yet. But so there's nothing to really report on that. The bid's in,
Okay,
and you know, hopefully we'll hear back soon. It's whether we want to sort of add anything to our bid in the time where they're considering them. You know, we could put more meat on the bones and send it in if we thought that was a good idea. But that's up for discussion, I suppose.
what would you want to add to it? We put the piece
Well,
together, gone in. I presume
I
there
mean,
was a time limit on it.
Yeah, well, there is a time limit to submit the bid, yeah, but we could always add more detail. For example, what it is, we've said sports provision and recreational space. We could put a more detailed visual together, for example, if we wanted to.
How does this bid differ from the one we put in 2018?
Well, you're right. The one we put forward in 2018 was actually more detailed because it was there was a business plan with that and everything. And that, well, if I'm honest, I don't think that ever saw the light of day in Swansea Council. I don't think that was ever run past enough people.
What do you mean it didn't?
That was just tennis courts,
Hang on,
wasn't it?
hang on.
Sorry.
What do you mean it didn't see the light of day? Wasn't run past enough people? It would
Well,
have
I
gone
mean,
through a
we
stage.
had a meeting with the cabinet member and a couple of the officers, and the cabinet member just said no, flat out. I don't think he ever ran it past anyone else. But
Yeah. So
sorry?
would it be better to? Would it have been better to resubmit the 2018 bid? Because now you're saying more meat on the bones.
Well, no, because I think, well, look, I mean, the one that we submitted in previously was that we take over the tennis courts and we recover all the tennis courts. So the one we have submitted now says that we would improve the public realm and improve sports facilities. So we could submit the old one, but I think most people are of the opinion that it's not just tennis that should go there. So that would be a different proposal.
Yeah, you've explained really well. Thank you, Sarah. You trying to?
Oh, sorry. Go on, Sarah.
I'm sorry. I can't see either of you. You've come
Sorry.
out now.
Oh,
Sarah,
sorry.
go.
Going first, me? Okay.
Yeah.
Quickly, yeah, I think they would be more interested if we offer them something different, like a basketball court. We've got interest there. We can already say the community's interested in it. Just they'd be more interested in more sports there than just tennis. So I think we've got more hope there if we do that. And we run with that. And we do the work like we did with the skate park and get the community interested.
Okay, Rebecca.
Yeah, I was just going to make the point that the decision at full council to submit the bid, I think, was based on an understanding that it would be open enough that should it be a successful bid, we would have space to do community consultation on exactly what provision we should provide. So I think it's important that we hold on to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got to do consultation. We can't do anything without consultation. Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else want to come in on that topic?
Well,
No, sorry, Will.
Steve, there has been some there has been some consultation, isn't there, from the Alan Thomas looked at the Swansea Council Bays consultation, right?
Yeah, I've read that. I think the final thing that he said was because he doesn't know who was consulted, that he really couldn't back up what they'd said. He gave an example of where in another council where they did that and it was for second homes. Then when they back and checked, 55% of the consultation wanted second homes and 56 of the people who were in it were those already in second homes. So he says he can't validate that because he just doesn't know who took part in that part of the consultation. He has trouble validating that. So yes, it did say that. Mixed votes as well.
Yeah, it was a rough guide. He basically Steve asked him to look over. So Swansea Council did a Bays for all the Bays sites, which Langland was one, Blackpill, where were the other ones? I can't remember. West Cross. I can't remember the other ones were. And anyway, it was a public consultation. There was an opportunity for the public to write down on each site via a web link, and it was on the Evening Post, Wales Online, and that. So they had quite a large response, and he went through all the Langland, as I understand it, Steve went through all the Langland responses, formulated those in a sort of, color-coded box, what most people ask for tennis, obviously, and better provision than other sports, then so on. So it's something to give us a guide, but as you say, we probably need to do something more detailed if we decide to.
Well, huge wide-ranging consultation, yes. Thank you for that. Anybody else with anything else on Langland?
Well, I suppose, Chair, we need to think if that's what we want to do and recommend as a committee, really.
Recommend what?
Whether it is that we wait for the council to come back to us on what we've already got, what we've already put in, or whether we want to recommend to the committee that we, spend money on, well, we don't have to spend money, or do a consultation of some kind.
Could I come in on that?
Yeah, Martin.
I just sort of think on that, Will, that, they might come back and just say they're not interested at all. And then if that is the case, then we would have sort of done consultation for no purpose whatsoever. I would like to sort of hang fire on this, and bearing in mind what Rebecca said earlier on, we're keeping this as open as possible at this point, and let's just sort of see what they come back with, because as I said, they could conceivably come back and say, look, we're not interested in this, we want to go with somebody completely different. And if they do come back and sort of say, look, we're at least interested in talking to you, then let's start the consultation ball rolling then, rather than doing any work beforehand.
Could I just come in on that? I mean, that's what was in the proposal as well. It does say if successful, we'll do a public consultation. It does say that in the submission. So I agree with that. We maybe just need to reaffirm that with sending it into the Estates Department and say, please note that our bid, I don't think there's any harm in Steve sending in, please note if successful, we do a large public consultation on what people want to see.
But we've got no choice about that. We have to do a large public consultation. We're not offering it. We have to do it.
Yeah, that's right. But they might look at our proposals compared to others and say, oh, well, this isn't very detailed.
Well, it's a bit late thinking about that now, isn't it? Rebecca, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, I would agree with Martin's position. But similarly, I don't see there's any issue in us just reaffirming that is our commitment. I think it's one of those community consultations, one of those things where it seems obvious to us. It's just how we do things, but it's not obvious to everyone. So reaffirming that commitment, I think, no harm.
Yeah, it's no harm. Yeah, no harm.
Well, Chair, wasn't it just initially though, just expression of interest? So if everybody's just done expression of interest and then they pursue it further, rather than us going more detail to start.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. I believe that some of them are fairly detailed though. I haven't seen them though, but I understand they are.
How do you understand that? You've been told that, or how have you had access to other people's submissions?
I haven't. I just said that.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. So where are we? Do we want to add something else, or are we going to hold fire? And if you take a vote, somebody else will have to count, because I can only see 4 of you, including the clerk. It seems to be that people say we'd submit something else saying we will do a mass consultation if we get the bid. Do you want to put that in, or hold fire completely? I don't mind at all, just be guided by you.
I think we should just say we'll do a massive consultation. I know it's obvious, but reiterate that fact.
I think there's probably consensus on that then between us.
Yeah. We could just bung that in an email or something. Yeah.
So bung that in an email.
Yeah.
That's
the official term. That's the official term.
Steve, could we please ask you to send that off for us? Would you be the one to do that?
At one stage, someone referred to it going to Swansea Council. Was that to them solely, or to the bid place as well?
Like St. Paul to the Corinthians. Just send it out there, Steve.
Okay.
Next item, Chair, is Mumbles Gardens, the tennis courts and the bowls pavilion. There was I think Martin and Sarah both attended a session with Alan Thomas last week.
So did Will.
As did Will.
Could somebody report back to us, please? I don't mind to.
Yeah, I'll start. You can dip in. Yeah, it was a very good consultation. First thing I'd like to say is it's a shame it wasn't open to everyone, because it was really good. I think we would have got a lot more brainstorming if everyone had been involved, not just a handful of people. I felt like gate crashed into it, and I'm glad I did, because it was everything that I'm really interested in. Yes, we came to a lot of good conclusions. I think Alan was quite pleased in the journey we took and the short space of time it took for us to be in agreement, really, that it would be nice if we could change those courts into a basketball court or a netball court or both, and have it a beautiful garden around it so that it looks good for the people outside and walking past. It's also good for the standard of air, and that it was a good selling point to the hotel that's being built there. And anything's better than extra parking. So we'd fight that. And it was a positive meeting. There was a good meeting of minds. I think you'd agree, wouldn't you, Will?
Can I jump in? Because I've forgotten that Cap's got some really up-to-date news on that.
Oh.
So Steve, could you tell us what you've had, please? Sorry, I forgot about it to begin with it.
So is this on the bowls green, Chair, that I was mentioning to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long story, but to keep it very short, on your instruction, we applied to take over the bowls green, the pavilion, the old people's hut, and the area surrounding that. Swansea Council said yes, and so they offered us that, in fact, and we said yes, we'd love to take them up on that. It was a lease that would have a break clause in, but you accepted that, and so we said yes to that. Unfortunately, I chased it up occasionally, and the last time I chased it up, Lewis Hines is telling me now that they're having yet another review of their waterfront sites, as Will just alluded to one. They had one just very recently, and therefore they couldn't necessarily go ahead with that at this stage.
They're reneging on the deal then?
Well, Chair, you could say that. I couldn't possibly.
I just did. But what I mean is, are they including the tennis courts in that reevaluation, or are they just saying it is the bowls green and the site around that?
No, they're including the tennis courts in that. So
they are. Yeah. Okay. Right. I just thought you needed to know that before you carried on. Will, I can hear you somewhere.
Yeah, sorry, thanks. When did you get that, Steve, that information?
I think it was late last week, because I started replying to it about 6 times and thought I better not, because I was angry.
Okay, because I mean, you've had contact with Lewis Hines the week before, and he said it was fine and he was working through it, right? So something must have changed.
Yes.
Okay, right. And that's all he said, is that there's another review.
Yes. We know what that means in shorthand for
no,
don't we?
Well, yes, unfortunately. That's very frustrating, isn't it? Okay.
So remember, tennis courts are going to be part of the review again, if they're including everything along the front there.
Can I say something here?
Certainly.
I had an interesting meeting planning meeting. It wasn't a planning meeting as such, it was the new way they're going to look at planning, and it was the Mumbles consultation, the Mumbles conservation area, and something came up which my ears pricked up about, was the fact that they wanted to bring in more of the frontage and the special consultation in Mumbles. So I think that when they say about the review, I think this is part of what they're doing. They are looking at the way they're going to look at planning in the future, as you know, because the Wellbeing Act and the all these different acts that are coming in, and they are really sort of, I think, revamping the whole idea of the frontage. So I think that's possibly why they are talking about a new review.
Thank you for that, Linda. Do you want to come?
You're being too nice to them there, Linda. I think you're being too nice there.
Oh, I see.
Will, do you want to pick it up then from this meeting?
Myself.
Yeah.
As Sarah said, we had a meeting with Alan, fed in how to do the consultation and asked us our opinions on the site and formulated those. And I think we gave him who our opinion of who the stakeholders on the site were, and if we take that further, who he will contact to basically formulate the opinions of the community and the major stakeholders in that site. So, for example, it was the residents that live immediately, overlooking the tennis courts and green. Then there was the bowls club, the croquet club, the hotel next door. There was lots of stakeholders that we identified. Mumbles Action Group was one. And if we decide to take this consultation further, which I think everyone's in agreement that we will, but that might change obviously, that those parties will be contacted and it will progress from there really, and then we'll formulate a plan that what we want to do with that site, agree it at council, and then submit these ideas or proposal to Swansea Council longer term.
The community itself is a stakeholder, though, isn't it? So it would have to be about far wider than just the 4 or 5 specific groups that you've mentioned that are dotted around the tennis courts there. Than the users of the tennis court. Martin's
more qualified than me to tell you how to do a consultation, so I'm sure he can jump in here.
Yeah, the whole sort of thing, the whole purpose of this meeting, it was in the first instance to start putting into practice some sort of planning on the overall consultation. Obviously, in any sort of consultation like this, everybody has got some sort of input. A lot of people have got different points of view. But the whole purpose of this meeting is to identify probably those people who would have, who it would probably impact on the most, those people who would be most interested, because of course, everybody in the community, for say for somebody who's living a long way away from that area but might travel into the area, okay, yes, the consultation is something that they will maybe want to have some input in. But what we were trying to do from this brainstorming session was try to identify who would be the key players really, and where would be the best place to start what they call snowballing, where you start to talk to the first people in the community and then they can refer you on to other people in the community. So that was the whole point of this, so that you're not going out. We've got limited resources in any consultation that we can do. So obviously we need to put some planning into the consultation and need to think of who we need to start talking to in the first instance, and who are the main stakeholders, who are the main players in any consultation that we do. Has there been a report from that meeting where all this is identified? Yes, it came around. Yes, pardon? I haven't seen a report that identified it in that detail. The report, Steve, help me on this one, because I've just seen the report just before coming to this meeting.
Yeah, I did send something to Alan and said because he said he was going to do a proper report. And I said, oh, actually, the meeting's tonight.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything subsequent. So has he sent something further, is he?
Yes, sorry. Yes, he said something, he sent something to me. I didn't get a chance to read it. It was just before the meeting, I found.
Yeah, that's the one I've just read just before the meeting.
I'll send it.
I was going to talk about making a recommendation to full council, but if we haven't read the report, then we can't put a recommendation in, can we?
No.
So I wonder if you could send that report out to everybody on the committee, Steve, and next month we make a recommendation to full council on how we want to proceed with it. Would that be a way forward?
Yes, certainly. And I guess if Alan says it's time important, which I don't think it is, it could also go to straight council, so it wouldn't have delayed anything if there was a problem.
Okay, brilliant. Okay,
good point.
Can I just come in, Pam? Because I am a little, obviously I've been out of the loop for exactly 5 weeks today, Stefan. But I am a bit concerned about, if this is time pressured in any way. And the news we just had about the bowls green, I feel that we need to take we need to have a strong position on this. So yeah, reassured with what Steve's just said. But I think we can keep an eye out for it and the report and sort of leap on it if we need to, then so that would be good.
Shall we make a recommendation to full council on the understanding that we will have read it by the time we get to full council? And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't, but at least we can remove it from the agenda rather than not have it there at all. Recommendation to full council is that we take the recommendations Valen's report and start a consultation or have a consultation meeting. Do we need to do that? Or is that just being too heavy-handed?
My instinct is to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, that seems fair enough to me.
Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically you're recommending that Alan's report be accepted and that goes to full council.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could I ask that we could consider one other thing? Obviously, the wider proposal is still up in the air a bit, but obviously our lease that we thought was going to go through on the Bowls Green section of this has just been bounced back. Now, I think it might be worth anyone, it doesn't matter who it is, or maybe the whole council, we invite the leader or the cabinet member or both to a meeting just to, ask them why. It could be a private meeting, it could be a public meeting, whichever works for them, I suppose. But the more relevant people there, the better, I think. So I just think we should maybe recommend that to the council, that we ask them as well.
I think that's a valid point. Well, the more communication channels we got open, the better.
But we don't need full council permission to do that. We can just ask Steve to set this meeting.
Yeah, just.
So, Steve, could you try and set up a meeting for us with the cabinet minister or whoever he allocates to come and talk to us about this?
Yes, certainly. That's for the committee, is it?
Yes, please.
So invite them to the next committee meeting, is it?
We could do. Or if they can't do an evening meeting, then we offer any time that we fit in with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm happy to make sure I'm at that and then can report back to committee for anyone who can't be there.
Yeah. Okay, is that where we finished with that topic then?
Yeah.
Thank you. Take us next, Steve.
Yeah, next item is Southend Gardens Crazy Golf. I did, Chair, just to advise you, I put that on. It's just to advise the committee that Claire Anderson, our officer, she's doing a lot of work to do with tourism, and this could be also put on the tourism committee, but cultural and tourism wellbeing. But it's also your committee as well, really. She's sort of taking up the reins from Tracy, one of our ex-councillors, who's very keen to do this, and see whether we can get someone in to revamp the Crazy Golf Course.
So if we give it to cultural, does that mean they pay for it?
Yeah, we're hoping there's not going to be a cost, but she's arranged a meeting with Jamie Rubridge this week to discuss possibilities. So she'll do a report on that, which will go back to your committee at this stage.
Okay, so it'll be just a MCC staff and Rubridge meeting?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Can I just say my opinion on that, Chair? You don't mind?
Certainly.
I think, you know, that's, I know we got to prioritise with what we asked Swansea Council for, because, you know, otherwise we'd be like, can we have this? Can we have that? Can we have this? But, you know, it's obviously a profit-making operation. Otherwise they would have, they wouldn't man it.
Hugely.
Yeah, and I think it's something that if it was invested in and made 10 times better, it would be, you know, 10 times more profitable. So and it could be a real, you know, tourist draw to the area. So I do think it is worth, you know, looking at some kind of partnership with Swansea on it, and, you know, given a bit of time on a business plan that if we spent X, then it paid us back over time or something like that. Because, you know, if it was a much, much better crazy golf course, it would be something worth, you know, traveling down or, you know, doing when you're on holiday.
Like,
so
it took it for granted. If we're investing in it, we want some money back from it as well.
Yeah, so I think maybe rather than, you know, there's two options, Steve, is what I'm trying to say. There's one way you just get tidied up so the ball doesn't literally bounce every time it rolls along the flat, so it's a little bit better. Or, you know, we look at, you know, something considerably better.
Steve, I know Tracy got in touch with the firm, I think in Fourth Call, who were big builders. Could you give Claire some link to that so she can have a look at that before she goes into the meeting?
Yeah, I did tell her all about Tracy's work.
Okay.
She's fully briefed
Okay.
on that, yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, leave it up to that meeting and for you to report back to us on that then.
Great, but
Okay.
I pass on the comments that Will's made, that the committee are keen to see it developed and working.
I thought that would have been part of the brief anyway. But yes, please do include that. Okay, thank you.
Item 9 is the grant request from the Queen's Road Scout Hall. If Rebecca's here, she's probably the best to speak on this because she went to the meeting with Party.
So so this has been a bit of a journey to get to this point. We had a grant application from the Scout Hall like 4 months ago, maybe. And we bounced it back to them for a bit more detail because it's a much larger grant application, obviously, than normally we would consider. Myself and Steve then met with the gentleman who is putting the whole project together to sort of do up this Scout Hall, who had a very comprehensive presentation about what they want to do with the facility, what their objective is. Which is mainly to widen the accessibility of the facility and bring more people from the community in to use it. So it's currently primarily used for Scouts. They have recently opened it up for vaccinations, I understand, COVID-19 vaccinations. So they clearly are committed to this, you know, this vision of there being more uses of it. They think that they've got, I think, 10 sessions in the week that it's currently not in use. So there's, you know, in theory, 10 different things that could be going on there. But one of the primary concerns that I think is, you know, would be of interest to us as the community council is that currently it's not disabled friendly at all as a facility. So there's steps to get into it, there's steps to get onto the stage, there's no disabled toilet. So a couple of months ago, as committee, we asked Steve to go back to them and itemise exactly what they would be asking MCC for, which they've done, and that's been shared with everybody. And the idea was, we've got, I think it's about 30,000 left in our small and medium grants pot for this financial year. So the idea was to look at that itemised list and think, right, what could we support with this year out of the money that is already budgeted for small and medium grants. I've had a look at the list myself, and it is a bit complicated because as you can probably tell, I'm particularly interested in supporting them to make it disabled friendly, because I think that's a big step in making it a more accessible venue. But if you look at the itemised list, in order for that to happen, it's actually 4 or 5 different items all need to happen in tandem.
Yeah.
So they need to reposition the entrance to the gents' toilets and the stores in order to widen the footprint of the disabled toilet. And those things all cost, yeah, it's quite a big project when you get into the detail of it. So I think there's two options that I was going to put forward. One is to, there's one item that we could do just straight off, one thing, which is making the entrance to the hall itself accessible. So putting a ramp in, putting lights in, just generally making that a better entrance. That costs 5,700 and odd, I think.
I haven't seen, I don't know.
10,818.
Oh no, hang on a minute, I'm talking about a different thing then, Gareth.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you were right, 5,788.
Yeah, so that one is a standalone. It's also much more within the realm of the size of grant that we would normally give. So we could go down that route. Or if we did want to support with the disabled access to the whole facility, as I said, we're looking at probably it would need to be a grant of about 25,000. And that is because of all these different interlinked things. That then would leave, the other things they've asked us for are to refurbish both the gents and the ladies' toilets and to refurbish the entrance hall. My feeling is that we've got 30,000 left for this year. That's, in comparison to what we had at the beginning of the year, it's actually quite a lot, but for us to put it all in one community hall, to me, doesn't feel right. So I'm not proposing that we necessarily spend it all, and that's why I'm saying let's definitely at least take out some of the things that they've asked us for. But if we really wanted to go down the route of making it disabled friendly, then it will cost about 25,000. Just to draw, I'm conscious we've got members of the public on the call and they won't necessarily have seen this whole list. This is quite a, it's quite a wide-ranging project, and they have gone out to other places for funding, some of which has been received. So I'm confident that it is a well thought through project, and that it will bring return in terms of community involvement in the facility.
Well, my feeling is if we're coming to the end of our financial year and we've got that money, then I see no problem, and nobody else is asking for that money, then I have no problem with giving it to that hall. As you can see, they're trying to get out into the community to make it a real community hall. I have no problem with giving that money at all. I know everybody else thinks about that. So I would give the 25, 30,000 and get on with it.
I'd say, well, the opposite. I think we should, not quite. I think we should go for the ramp and start that way. And then if they can't get any extra funding next year, add something else. So I just want to, with the year we've had, with all the stuff that's happened, I would rather keep some money in the kitty in case we need it for something else that comes up, and not just spend.
Don't we have other pots of money that are there for that kind of thing?
Well, the other thing just to say is that obviously if we don't spend that 30,000, it's not just going to go up in a puff of smoke. We can earmark reserve it for a bigger community grants fund for the next financial year. So, that money doesn't necessarily stop being available to the hall. As Sarah said, we could keep adding.
Yeah, I'd prefer that. I feel safer somehow.
Could I comment just on a comment there? I agree with Sarah, I have to say, and just because we've got money doesn't mean that we have to spend it. I mean, we're about to borrow 850,000. We'd only have to borrow, 820,000 if we put the thing towards that, So it's like we don't have to spend it just because we've got it. We are committed to other projects as well. One question I had, Rebecca, was when you said they wanted to use it for other things. I know they rent it for parties. The Scouts and the Brownies and Rainbows and People and Cubs, they all use it currently, right? Yeah. It's used by all four of those organizations. Do they, obviously there's lots of different age groups, how many times a week or how many sessions is it used? Did they tell you that? And
they did tell me, but I can't remember.
No, but I didn't expect you to give me an exact number. Did it seem like it was well used by that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, Will, to be honest, because having lived around the corner from that hall, but not having any children at that stage, I actually didn't even know it existed. So
Yeah.
then to get this presentation, I was amazed. I mean, it's hundreds of young people. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And what other things are they proposing it's used for? Are they like more just kids' parties to hire out privately, or is there other clubs and things they want to encourage at specific things?
Yeah, so there was two things that I remember from the presentation. They're really keen to do more things that encourage exercise and physical activity. So I think he mentioned, you know, I think he mentioned yoga, but that might be wrong actually. And then the other thing he mentioned was they're keen to do activities that reduce loneliness amongst older people. So, you know, whether that be coffee mornings or I think you might even have mentioned that they've got a bid into the lottery to get 5 laptops. I think they're thinking of doing some sort of computer club, that kind of thing as well.
And
sorry.
The access isn't easy for elderly people there either, is it? Because, you know,
No.
it's steps and not there. So yeah, I think that's certainly a good, you know, if they're looking to do things like that, then that's a good use of £5,000 or whatever it is. And as you say, we can readdress it next year. I think to cover one hall, as you say, with 40,000, I think we'd have a lot of grant
40.
application.
It wasn't 40, but if that big grant, if they're relying on that big grant to get the disabled facilities up and running, then they need the disabled facilities up and running before they can expand who they're offering to in the community.
Yeah.
It comes first, the chicken or the egg.
What I'm trying to say is if we support them with a huge grant, I think, you know, there's a lot of community halls in the area and we'd have a lot of grant applications next year and be able to do the same. So.
I don't see any point in not giving them money just because you want to take money off Underhill.
Well, actually, no, it's not that. It's simply the fact that it takes so long anyway to get stuff moving. We could put the money to the ramp. By the time they've had the ramp done and they're ready to have other stuff done, we'll go, oh yes, and it's time, we can give you a little bit more to do this now. It's not a no, it's just slowly paying out what needs to be done.
Sorry.
Well, I just wanted to say something.
Sorry,
I suppose in support of what Sarah and Will are saying, and particularly what Will's point there in relation, we've got a lot of community halls in the area, and one of the things we need to think about as well is, you know, the work that we've got planned in relation to Ostream as well, and I support this idea that, you know, supporting access.
Martin, you're crashing out. You've gone.
No, you've gone, Mark. Your sound is gone.
Okay, just have a vote.
Okay, so we're going to vote to give the £5,788 to build the front porch. Is that what you're
Can I just check sorry, just before we vote on that specific amount, it does say that excludes VAT. Steve, can you just clarify, do we need to vote for that amount plus 20%?
Yeah, you would do, yes.
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
Okay, so can we vote that we give them the 5,007 plus 20% for the front porch? Steve, you're going to have to count. I can't see everybody. Those in favour?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's everyone, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Next.
Yeah, the next is grant request from Mumbles Centurion Long Course Weekend. If you recall, you asked again for a breakdown of what you might contribute to, which they've supplied.
Yeah.
Can I come in?
Go.
So I don't know anything about this, obviously, from the meeting, how it was discussed last time, because I wasn't at the meeting. But just reading the paperwork they've submitted, what they've provided as a breakdown comes to about 15,000. And their application says they already have £15,000 of their own funding. So I'm just a bit confused as to what they want our money for.
I thought...
I couldn't access the paperwork. So
I haven't seen the paperwork.
The application says the event will cost about 18,000. But then the breakdown is for about 15.
Martin, do you want to come in?
Well, I thought they were, maybe I've misread it wrong. I thought they were asking us for 5.
Yeah, they are. They are. They're asking us for a contribution of 5.
Yeah.
And in the application, it was a contribution of 5 to a total of 18. But then when they've submitted the breakdown of what Hour 5 is contributing to, the total breakdown only comes to 15,000.
They've obviously moved on since they put in the initial application, and they've had returns from other people before they've come back to us.
Can I ask, if it's an event, is it even going on? Sorry, I haven't seen
Well,
the paperwork.
it's the end of August is planned for. Very end of August.
Ugh.
It's
But
it's a
Yeah,
try-out.
surely.
the thing, I don't know, the sort of event it is, but they could possibly do it socially distanced.
Mm.
You know, but this is, you know, looking at the sort
Like a
of event
triathlon,
it
isn't
is.
it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a tri
it is.
It's like a
it's like a mini triathlon as far as I can understand it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. You know, they could do that socially distanced, couldn't they?
What about people watching though? Are they going to have anyone standing?
Well, again, it's like any of these sorts of events. We just don't know where we're going to be come the end of August, do we?
No.
But they can't plan unless they've got some money in place, can they?
Chair, can I just, for point of information?
Yeah.
Rebecca's exactly right with her analysis about the expenditure. It does go up to 15,000, but below that, there's a whole load of marketing costs which they've put down but not itemized. So I
Okay.
expect their extra money is on the marketing.
Weren't these the people who only mentioned two of the schools in the Mumbles area? They just wanted Newton and Oystermouth involved and not the other schools.
Yeah,
think we-
you asked me to write to them, which I have done, pointing that out.
Right.
But it's probably just they weren't aware. People are very confused about what Mumbles is, aren't they? Often they don't realise it's four walls.
Okay, so do we want to give them any money? That's the first question.
I mean, firstly, I'd say it's a good event. It's a good
Yeah.
proposal. It's certainly, you know, it's starting off a local business as well, you know, so whoever's doing this is obviously planning to do it as a job. So it's almost like a sort of making an event better, because as you see, they're putting in their own money, which is a substantial amount. And what they're asking for, basically, as I can see, is we have funding to make that event better. It'll still go ahead without our money, which is good to know. But it seems it's sort of icing on the cake, the stuff that will make that event better. And you know, with these things, it does attract a lot of tourism and brings money to the area.
I agree.
And also keeps people fit who live in the area. You know, they train towards these things. So I think it's a good event. It's a good thing. So I think we should support it to a degree. Yes.
Yeah.
So are we looking for £5,000 still to give them?
I still think it's a great event, but it's the wrong year. I mean,
Well,
we've
if
cancelled
it doesn't go ahead, then they won't spend our money, will they? We made that point last time. That's the point we made to them last time. If it doesn't go ahead, they don't spend our money.
Worst scenario, in no man's land, and it gets done, and then it's like a super spreader event or something, and we funded it.
We made the point that we would put money into something so that if it didn't go ahead, we wouldn't lose our money. I haven't been able to get the paperwork on this. I'm sorry. You're going to have to advise me on what you want to pay for.
So I'm just going to be really pedantic, which is that even if Steve's right, and I have spotted that those marketing lines now, and that's, you know, the event does come up to 18,000. They've shot themselves in the foot by telling me that they've got 15,000 in the bank, because to me then the application should be for 3,000 to make up the difference. So that would be my suggestion, is let's make up the difference, let's support the event, and that would, to me, is like a middle road.
But if we just give them that £3,000, does that exclude all the money that Steve has highlighted on marketing and things?
I think Rebecca makes a good point in the fact that we can't possibly, you know, fund a project more than it's down to be funded, you know.
I know, but didn't Steve make the point that their marketing costs were outside the £18,000?
No, they're outside the 15 that I mentioned.
Thank you.
I think it's a good. I think that's a good, sensible approach that we.
Okay. Is there something itemised for around £3,000 that if it doesn't go ahead, we get our money back? I haven't been able to access the paperwork. I'm sorry.
I think that's down to Steve to come up with some kind of solution to, you know, if the event is, you know, looking like it's going to be pulled, or that we want some kind of confirmation from Swansea Council that the event's going to go ahead in an email, but a month before. You know, as you know, at the moment, as you know, I'm an event organizer, and we have to deal with all the local authorities at the moment before, and we have to get a confirmation from all the local authorities that in England that our event can go ahead. So
can we make a recommendation that
before we release money? We need.
Can we make a recommendation that we give them £3,000, but make the stipulation that there are conditions attached to it?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. The condition would be that Swansea Council. We have an email from Swansea Council that says yes, this event can go ahead, and maybe that's realistically, I don't know, a month or two before.
Okay.
It can't be that.
Okay, so we're going to have to take a vote on this, I'm afraid. We will award them £3,000, but with the stipulations that we have official, we see sight of official stuff that says they are going to go ahead with the event safely. Does that sound all right to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we vote on that then, please? Those for that? Steve, it's up to you. I can't see your hands.
Yeah, that's almost unanimous.
And did you get that, Steve?
I did, yes. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, next.
Yeah, the penultimate item is budget monitoring. Do you want me to say something? Paul's provided some details, hasn't he?
Yes.
Oh.
Has it changed since last month, though?
It hasn't really, but in terms of this committee, they're all large sums for the Underhill and for the skate park. And I spoke to Paul about what would happen with any unspent grants money, and he confirmed what Rebecca said today, that if this committee asked it, that money could be ring-fenced for grant applications next year. So it will be added to your budget figure, and that will give you a greater sum.
Could we just remind you to ask Paul that we need the breakdown of Underhill and the other major projects so that could be public as well, and what we're spending on those?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
That sounds fair enough. Thank you, Steve.
Can I just check, because I can't think of anywhere else to put this in the agenda. The Friends of Oystermouth Castle, have you?
No, we haven't. No.
Okay.
But you were, I thought, we were going to have a meeting in the new financial year and discuss their project, weren't you?
Yeah, so the reason I bring it up under budget monitoring is if there is money ring fence that goes into the next financial year, I would just keep the castle on our radar, because we know that they have work that they need to do, and frustratingly, despite Steve having asked for a bit more detail around that so we can do some planning, we have not heard back.
Are we talking about £25,000 there from my memory?
I think it was more than that, maybe about 40 or 50,000.
Ah.
But I think Steve's written to them and said that we would need to plan that in, but that we're not opposed to a sizable project like that in partnership with them, recognising that they're a key asset in the community. But we need more information basically, and that's what we're waiting for.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, yeah, the final item is items for social media and the website and JEC.
I can't see there's anything. Oh, the Underhill money, of course. But it's not Underhill money, is it?
The borrowing approval.
The
borrowing approval.
Yeah, we did a press release on that, and it actually was in the Evening Post tonight.
That's
today.
right.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we're now getting on top of this stuff. Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. Is that it, everybody?
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Well, it hasn't been pleasant doing it this way because I only see 3 people at a time. It's been a bit of a laugh. But thank you for that. A few things to ask Paul about, and I'm sure he'll give us that because he's on the ball as he always is. So thank you, everybody, for a great meeting, and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.